It is officially draft week. The 2026 NFL draft is finally here. And with still so much uncertainty on what's going to happen this Thursday, I'm going to be delivering to you 4 predictions for the first round of the NFL draft. These 4 picks I made based on specific prop bets that are available right now for the 2026 NFL draft, ranging from the amount of wide receivers that are picked or the potential for unexpected names to go in the first round. We're going to cover all of it in today's video. Do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. Let's dig in. Let's start off with 2 players that I think have a chance to unexpectedly go in the first round that you can place bets on to end up being picked. Every single year, there's always a prospect that nobody's expecting, that NFL fans, when they hear their name called, are scratching their heads wondering, who the heck is this guy? He was never brought up before, but those who have been covering the NFL draft might be well aware of the chances of said players actually being picked in the first round. The 2 guys that I think that you should pay close attention to are Trayden Stukes, which you can get at plus 700 odds for him to go in the first round, and Gabe Akis at plus 950. Trayden Stukes is a very talented defensive back in this year's class out of Arizona. He's a very unique player. He's a safety that is a really impactful slot coverage corner that can be used in a multitude of ways by a creative defensive coordinator. At the end of the day, that is the type of prospect that could end up going in the back end of the first round. There's plenty of teams that are picking at the end of the first round that are looking to transform their chances of going from being a playoff team to an actual Super Bowl contending team. When you have a well-rounded defense, you can get pretty granular and specific for what you're trying to do and who you're trying to pick in order to take that next step defensively. Stukes has the skill set of being a high-end defensive back in the NFL, so him getting selected in the first round is very plausible. And just generally, there's been a lot of momentum for him getting picked unexpectedly at the very end of the first. The other player that I think also fits the billing of a prospect that is perfect for a team that has a well-rounded unit, but is just looking for one more high-floor player to continue their growth, that being Gabe Akis. At plus 950, as I mentioned, the defensive end out of Illinois is a really solid run defender. He's got a really good power profile. He just doesn't have the same ceiling as some of these other guys like Cassius Howell or Mason Thomas, who are a bit twitchier and more explosive and have that capability of becoming very productive pass rushers. So Gabe Akis' floor as a run defender could end up landing him in the first round. Now, if I had to project which of these 2 players had the highest chance of going in the first round, it would be Trayden Stukes, and the odds reflect that. Next, a lot of sports books will put out an over-under for the draft slot where various prospects will get selected. And the one that stood out to me the most, that had the most intriguing odds, was Vega Ioane, the interior offensive lineman out of Penn State. Vega is one of the most well-rounded offensive line prospects in this year's class. There's always that one offensive lineman that you can count on that is just really reliable. And whoever ends up picking him, you can expect that player to just be a consistent, steady starter with maybe a couple Pro Bowls mixed in. Vega Ioane is going to be really highly coveted this year. And I think with many of the tackles being underwhelming in this year's class and a number of tackles maybe having to project to moving inside, with all of that confusion, I think teams are going to look at Vega Ioane and think, why would we mess around with something we don't know and we're not sure what the outcome will be when this player has some of the best tape out of just any prospect in general in this class? The fact that you can get Vega Ioane at under 14.5 at plus 110 is extremely compelling. Most importantly, if we look at the pocket of teams that are picking now at the 10th overall pick up to the 14th overall pick, there's a really strong case that he goes somewhere in that range. It all starts with the New York Giants, who now own that 10th overall pick. They're looking to improve their offensive line. And we can make the case for many other teams there, the Miami Dolphins, the Baltimore Ravens. It just seems too likely that Vega Ioane will get picked there, considering his reliability as a player. Up next, over-under on cornerbacks selected in the first round. I like over 4.5 cornerbacks at plus 300. The fact that we can get this at plus 300 is extremely compelling. There are 3 cornerbacks right now that I feel are shaping up to be locks to go in the first round. Tramon McCoy out of Tennessee has some of the best tape out of any corner prospect over the past couple of years. He didn't play this season due to an injury, an ACL tear that he suffered last January, and while there were concerns on his recovery, he tested at his pro day and he looked perfectly fine, solidifying the fact that he should go somewhere in the first round. Mansour Delane is undoubtedly a first-round pick. He is a really good player out of LSU. And then Colton Hood, the other Tennessee corner, seems like he'll end up going somewhere in the back end of the first round, with a lot of teams in that 15 to 32 range needing to address cornerback in this year's draft. But when we look at the over, and I just named 3 players, we just need 2 other corners for this to hit. There is a large range of prospects that could end up getting selected in the back end of the first round. It starts with Chris Johnson from San Diego State, who has had a stellar pre-draft process. We could also include Avion Terrell, who's been in the mix, but inconsistently on if he'll go in the first round or not. He had a poor 40 time at his pro day, which might end up pushing him out. But I look at the fact that we have D'Angelo Pons from Indiana, who tested really well and also has phenomenal tape and can thrive as a slot corner. And we already talked about Trayden Stukes. I think the fact that we have 4 players that have a potential to go in the first round that are cornerbacks makes this pretty easy when we only need 2 other guys to end up going in the first. So again, over under 4.5 cornerbacks at plus 300 makes a lot of sense. Lastly, I'm very compelled by the over-under set for wide receivers to go in the first round of this year's draft. I was able to find it at 5.5 and the under at plus 115 odds. Now, my case for this, I think that this year's wide receiver class is extremely deep. And I think after the top 3 names are off the board, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, and Mekhi Lemon from USC, it's a little bit unclear on who else is going to go in the first round. Do many teams choose to potentially address other needs where there is a lot more scarcity at those positions? I think that first and foremost, Mekhi Lemon, Carnell Tate appear to have very strong cases to go in the first round, and I find it hard to believe that they fall out of the first round. Casey Concepcion is another prospect that I feel probably will go in the first round as well. And then lastly, Omar Cooper Jr. from Indiana has been trending towards becoming a first-round pick and has been rising throughout this entire process. But after that, there's a crop of players where I don't think that it is very certain that they go in the first round. Denzel Boston is a bit of a coin flip. I don't think that it's 100% guaranteed because his skill set is very team-specific. He's a big-bodied, ex-contested receiver that I just don't know if every team is going to be looking for that type of guy, especially with a lot of these teams picking on the back end of the top 10, mostly looking for speedier after-the-catch type of receivers. But I mentioned Jordan Tyson in that group of big-name receivers, and I don't think it's guaranteed that he just straight up goes in the first round. Last year, a guy with a very similar circumstance to Jordan Tyson that was supposed to go in the first round was a slam dunk first-round pick that didn't go in the first round was Will Johnson. Both guys dealt with injuries, it affected their pre-draft processes, and then teams did not want to risk it and wanted to wait until day 2. I think that there's a possibility that this happens with Jordan Tyson this year. But even if Jordan Tyson does go in the first round, that's still only 5 receivers that end up going in the first. We would need Denzel Boston to also go in order for 6 to go and for the over to hit. I just feel out of any position group, there is a wide range of outcomes that could occur here, especially, again, with so much depth at wide receiver in this year's class. Thanks, everybody, for watching today's video. Hit the like button and subscribe and comment below. What is your favorite prop bet for the 2026 NFL Draft?